do you want? What do you want to experience? And how do you want to feel? You put guardrails around your life through vision. You have a vision for your financial life. You have a vision for your fitness, health, and your health and fitness. You have goals and the state that you want to see your spiritual life in, your career, your love life, so on and so forth. You gotta set a vision for your life of what you want to experience. The Word of God said that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I am come that you may have your life and have it more abundantly. So what does that mean? He's a God of pleasure. Even in our natural physical state, we've got different things that where we can feel pleasure in our body or in our emotions. Why? He's a God of pleasure. We also feel pain. What is pain? It's designed to get us to discern something. If I was to go set my hand on a hot stove, I pull it back because it burns, right? And that's an indicator, discern to discern, hey, don't do that. That's not good for you. And so we had to take time and give, with that same etiquette and protocol, to give thought to our life and to our dreams. Does that make sense to you? So I ran into a situation to where I am not one that likes to burn bridges per se, and I'm still learning so much about life. A relationship of the past that I had tried to savage, or I had broken that relationship off, and you try to savage. You don't want to hurt people, and for the most part, you want to see the value in people. And the truth is, sometimes we just outgrow people, and guess what? That's okay. Or sometimes people may outgrow us, depending on where we are. And had I been aligned to vision, then my discernment would have said no, right? Why is this so important? When you set a vision for your life of what you want to experience, how you want to feel, and how you want to be treated, anything or anyone that's contrary to that, when your vision is clear to you, anything that's contrary, you don't make time and you don't make room for it. Now that decision, even though it was harmless, um, it cost. What did it cost? It cost time. And everybody that knows me knows I'm really big on time, not letting things or people waste my time. I really, really work hard at that. And you should too, right? Um, that's going to be a segue into what I'm going to share with you and teach you today. Okay. The scenario was, there was someone that was a significant other in the past. And, I had broke off that relationship for several reasons, but one, it was choosing me. It was quite toxic, and I was choosing me. But um, I have a sense of loyalty. You don't always look for the bad in things or in people. You also extrapolate the good. And in that particular situation, I remember that person being supportive as best as they could at a time to where I had lost some, the anchors or the cornerstones of my life, which is my late father and grandmother, who was more like a mother figure. That was a very challenging time of my life. It seemed like that particular year, everything in life had tried to break me. It didn't, right? And in between that, oddly enough, I'd lost 9 other loved ones in the midst of trying to, that was a bit much, right? Aunts, uncles, friends, cousins, and things like that. So, dealing with 9 deaths at a time, that's kind of abnormal for most people. But again, some people come into your life for a season, reason, and lifetime, and that person was a support, and I appreciated that. Long story short, speeded up into today's time, they had lost their parents, both of them, in this year, and I understand that. Understanding comes by experience, right? And so, my motive was to reach out to say, you know, just to pay homage and with art of reciprocity. Was met with fire. I mean, absolute fire. Wasn't treated so kindly in that situation. I had one context, which was condolences, and given that it was an ex, that person had the context of relationship, which caused me to think, hey, do I still, makes your mind wondered, is there anything there? Do I still love? Do I still care? And I had to find out that the hard way. But here's the wisdom. Proverbs, the book of Proverbs which a proverb is a personification, right? It is a wisdom or hidden riddle that personifies to give you a deeper meaning. And so you'll see wisdom position, which Jesus is wisdom, but it's personified in the feminine energy, which means the nurturing aspects of God, right? One of his name is many breasty one, meaning to let me pull you close to me and nurture you and protect you, like a mother hen would do for her children. God has that nature about you and me, protective, right? So wisdom positions itself and says redundantly that I am a buckler to you. I am your defense. But see, wisdom has to be, it also talks about how wisdom has to be sought for like treasure. What do you do with treasure? To get treasure, you have to dig and excavate. If you notice something about God, I think God is very interesting to me. Everything of value is hidden from us. It's hidden for us, not from us. Let me correct that. Even the vital organs, you notice that they're hidden behind. There's layers of protection in that. So I had to take responsibility and say, all right, what happened there? There's more to this story, and I'll tell you that too. Why? Because I want you to learn. My mom always says that prevention is better than the cure. Trust me, it is. Right? So I'm just like, okay, you have a relationship with God. You can talk to him about anything. Right? I didn't meet God in no church. I didn't really like them too much. Or the representation, right? And I found out that I had to have a personal relationship, that's a one-on-one type of thing. I found him to be very kind, very patient. That makes me smile. Anyway, let's get to the text of, you may have say, okay, what happened there? How did my, even though I was well intended, how did this go so far off course? What happened? And in between that, understand that people, you can't change people. You shouldn't want to, right? You let people be people, and then you continue to grow and keep elevating, and you let people come up to your level. What happened is I went down and tried to meet them at their level, which I found they were still bitter over a breakup that happened 10 years ago. I said to myself, well, that's a long time to bury something and just let it come out. Use their grief as an excuse to lash out. But we let people be people, right? And so I came to myself and just like, Father, what happened? My heart, my intentions, and didn't mean any harm. And this is where he brought me to. So let's jump right into it. Today, I'm going to teach you from Proverbs 6. I'm going to scale some of it back. Right, so this is how it reads. This, in the King James Version, it is called practical wisdom. And it reads this way. And I'm going to break down the words. Listen, let me give you a preamble. A lot of people think that the Bible is a Western book, so they approach it with a Western mindset. And if you do that, you're going to miss it every time. It is not a Western book. It is an Eastern book. Old Testament written in Hebrew, in some ancient Hebrew and Aramaic. New Testament written in Greek. And so I study it to get the context of it. And, no offense, I am American, but the English language is very diluted, semantically bleached. And I call it a mud language, right? It's just a mixture of a whole bunch of other stuff. That preamble to show you, first of all, the study method and how do I excavate and search for wisdom as with treasure. This is how. All right, so again, it's called Practical Warnings. It says, my son, if you be surety to your friend, and if you have stricken your hand with a stranger, you are snared with the words of your mouth, and you're taken with the words of your mouth. Now do this. Deliver yourself like one who's come into the hand of your friend. Go humble yourself and make sure you're friend. Don't give sleep to your eyes or slumber to your eyelids. Deliver yourself as the roe from the hand of the hunter and from the hand of the snarler. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provides her meat in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. How long will you sleep, O sluggard? When will you rise out of your sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall your poverty come as one who travels, and you and your want like an armed man. Now I'm going to park right there. What does it mean to become surety to someone, right? You notice the language there that it says if you become surety to your friend, but as he continues, he's positioned it, and then he says, if you have stricken your hand with a stranger. In other words, you're perceiving this person as one way. You have one perspective of this person, but they are really a stranger to you, right? So perception, right? So that you are, so why do we get in the Word of God? What is the importance of wisdom? So that we're protected from wrong associations, right? Because the quality of our life comes down to the quality of the questions we ask, quality of our decisions, and the quality of our connections or relationships, right? God knows exactly who should be and who should not be a part of our lives. Why? Because we have a purpose and destiny. When one season ends, a new one comes. Some people are in your life for season, reason, and lifetime. Now, let's get into this word stranger. Um, the word stranger, you have to remember that this has been delivered through King Solomon. So he's teaching on having a kingdom mindset. How do you walk in kingdom etiquette and kingdom protocol, the kingdom of God mindset, right? And so when he talks about a stranger, he's talking about someone who, a foreigner, someone who does not walk in covenant and agreement, who does not have a direct association with God, who walks in his word, who has that solid connection, a relationship with them. You know, when a person comes to America and they want to get citizenship, they have to go through a process of being normalized, meaning that they have to their perspective, they have to come in agreement with our, with our culture and way of doing things, to, and within our jurisdiction, how our government runs. And what he's saying is, you came in alignment with someone who is operating out of my jurisdiction. This is not someone who follows my word. This is not somebody who operates in my kingdom. And what you did when he said you become surety to your friend, that means that, hey, just because somebody was going through this doesn't mean that you obligate them and you set yourself as a responsibility to take on the weight of their life. And he's talking about how you're snared and taken by the words of your own mouth, meaning that not always vocally, we understand that we birth things out of the spirit realm through our mouth. But a lot of times it's that inner narrative. Oh, they were there for me. Oh, I care. And, not bad to have empathy and compassion for people. We should. But not at the expense of wisdom. And when Father knows exactly who's for you and who's not for you, who's against you. Sometimes you could be friendly and a person can feel a certain way towards you. You have no idea that they're upset with you or mad, but God knows. And that whole situation could have been avoided had I bowed my ear to wisdom, had I sought him first. That's why it says in Proverbs 4, get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Why? Wisdom is the principal thing, right? Again, wisdom is a shield. It is a defense. And so when he says wisdom is the principal thing, what does that mean? And this is wisdom speaking. It means that I desire to be the heaviest ranking influence in, on, and around your life. And I've had to continuously learn it. And it's probably been one of the toughest lessons that I've learned. Hopefully I'm getting better at it. A lot of times we may pray to God and we want things and we desire things. And then when we start to get on the path to see some type of results, we have sometimes can have a tendency to say, okay, I got it from here. No, Wisdom is desires to be there with us every single step of the way, to do life with us. And I deviated, and I came from under the wisdom, under the influence, came outside of that covering, which left me to be attacked, uh, you know, attacked with words, right? He said in his words that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, that every tongue that rises against you shall fall. But he tells you how the weapons are formed. He said every tongue, meaning that people that say words, a lot of times you want to be kind to people. You got to be able to discern when people got an issue with you. In this particular case, honestly, I just felt blindsided. That's not the first time I encountered that issue. I used to tell Father all the time, I feel like my kindness is a weakness. You know, and then I had to come to learn that there is a naivety to kindness, and it has blind spots without wisdom, right? And so let's continue some of the stuff that, some of the lessons that I extracted from that. Let's get right into it, right? Let's see here. And it talks about, let's get into stranger, right? When you go and study it out, it positions this person as a vagabond. And what is a vagabond? That is someone who is already who wanders, just wandering, pandering through life. No roots, no true stability, no true spiritual stability. Therefore, cannot be stable in their mind, in their soul. Right? They're already disconnected from divine order. They're already operating outside of His covenant boundaries. And then these types of people create dependencies on other people. They look for themselves to attach to get life from, and they're moving through wrong doors. Again, the doors, remember we started about focus, about different rooms of the mind, moving through wrong doors, right? And what this means is these people are in a vagabond state. It allows Satan to get them become a vagabond. And when you get associated with the wrong people in that way, then it begins to drain the life force out of you. Why? Because of your inner commitment to obligate yourself or be responsible for something that somebody else is dealing with, which brings you down to their level into a vagabond state. Does that make sense? Right? And as you begin to study this a bit more, it talks about how when you connect yourself to a stranger, there's there's hidden implications, and that alters perceptions, leading to alignment, a misalignment outside of God's will, right? And so, in the spirit realm or spiritually, even though Satan is using the satanic force to get us out, try to get us out of position in agreement with the stranger, or whatever that looks like, it talks about how Satan's overall goal is to draw us out of displacement, to create instability, and to transfer that vagrant state. And what does that mean? That means that, again, because it's a stranger, they're taking a predatory position. And the person that takes on the burden to say, oh, you know what, like you got some type of obligation and responsibility to this person, then you become passive, and now you're in the victim position. And I found that very interesting, right? It talks about, and I'm reading some of this from my notes, right? If you go back to the preceding chapter in Proverbs 5, it talks about seducing spirits, right? Of how this is a gradual and slow progression toward misalignment out of God's will. Here, let me give you an illustration of what that looks like. If a plane is flying from LA to New York, and that pilot gets out of alignment just 1%, just 1 degree, he doesn't land in New York. He lands off course somewhere around Philly, or I think it's the Philly area. He misses his mark. And that is what the word sin means. It means that you missed the mark. There was a target, obviously, to hit, and you missed the mark, meaning that you implemented the wrong strategy, right? And so you can look at it this way too. I like to talk in metaphors and allegories to paint a picture in your mind. A lot of people, when they're dating, they think it's romantic for the most part, to give someone flowers. But the truth is, they have presented that person with death, because once it disconnected from the vine, the death process began. And when you connect yourself to wrong people and wrong associations, that's like you being the flower and you're disconnecting from the true vine. He says in John 15 that I am the true vine, right? When you disconnect from wisdom that way, then the death process, it starts to set in some part of your life. And then all of a sudden you're off course and distracted. And then time goes by and the misalignment and displacement comes in the sense of missed opportunities, right? Now, what did that situation cost me? Well, I mean, if it weren't for God's grace, it would have cost me a lot. But coincidentally, it led to a domino effect to where um, sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. It was an ex dealing with a narcissist. Okay. And a big part of me did not want to, I've seen it. And that was one of the multiple reasons why I broke off that relationship. Just like, this person does not know how to accept any responsibility or accountability for their actions. Just none, and that doesn't make them I would say, necessarily a bad person. It just means they have some bondage or baggage to deal with. I would say that probably comes or stems out of a root of condemnation, of feeling like they can't be vulnerable or be honest and take on responsibility. I know it would seem like I'm making an excuse for narcissistic behavior, but I'm not. I'm just learning and trying to understand it. I would say a narcissist. A narcissist is all about one thing. They want attention and they want control. And for the most part, they do anything to go about getting it, even if it's in a toxic way. Some people that operate that way would rather have a conflict based connection with you if that's for some reason that fuels them. Conflict fuels the narcissist. Why? Because they have to have a villain. They want to play like they're these damsels in distress, the victim, and then oftentimes spewing hate behind your back. Um, Oftentimes, what is it about this manipulation through lies and control? That's called, from a spiritual perspective, you're dealing with a Python spirit and you're dealing with a Jezebel spirit. And oftentimes, those spirits come to attack those who are anointed with the prophetic mantle. Now, I had that situation. We take power back, right? Now, I had seen the behavior in the first call when offering, condolences, but then I got this strange call, like, "Hey, dude," it was the most bizarre thing. I can laugh about it now, but it was very hurtful at the time. Hey, somebody came to my job looking for me. Now, keep in mind, we live like quite a bit distance away. Came to my job looking for me, something about some Charlie Brown and some flowers, and I'm just like, uh, you didn't know where to take that, right? This person had a witty sense of humor. That was one of the things that at the time I was drawn to them. But you listen, you kind of see where it was going. We found out it wasn't a joke. I'm just like, okay, this is what we're dealing with. And then the layers of manipulation. This is not when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's not a one-time manipulation. They have built um, a whole playbook that's, again, gradually over time, that's to where now you're positioned to feel like anything that you do or say is just wrong, right? And so, given my logic at the time was, all right, this person is grieving, and I just didn't. And at the same time, I don't want to fuel that behavior. And this a narcissist gets completely upset if you stand up for yourself in any type of way. They're always looking to cast blame, regardless if it has anything to do with you or not. If you're going through that, it's not you, it's them. And unfortunately, the only thing you can do for somebody with this type of behavior is pray for them and stay. If you go and read the rest of Proverbs 6, it tells you to stay far away from them, to keep in your mind and keep your feet far from their house. Hey, you didn't discern this right, but now that you know, get yourself out of that and stay clear of that, right? And so I had told the person, no, it wasn't me, and it was just continuous attacks, right? And where that tried to take me into vagabond spaces because I wanted to lash back out, and actually did at someone in the room with them because I was so angry. And we'll break that down too. Narcissists want to get a rise out of you. They live for that. Why? Control. And what that person was doing was using another person as a human shield to get their way. What did they want? A sense of control, and manipulate it to get it. You know, try to manipulate the facts and also manipulate it. Um, you know, you can't manipulate people in your life and call that love. We had to heal. We had to heal parts of our life. And let me tell you the truth, as someone who is still so invested in personal development, growth, growth can be painful. However, when the pain of the same gets greater than the pain of change, we change. You don't want life to teach you that. You want wisdom to come alongside you, undergird you, and strengthen you to where you don't have to. Some lessons are not necessary for us to learn the hard way, right? But sometimes we do. And sometimes learning hard lessons the hard way works good. Once I learn something the hard way, I don't repeat it. I still don't like learning the hard way. But in that situation, I thought about it. I felt the need I wanted to lash out. Why? Because it was just like, at the time, it was around Black Friday, and the entrepreneurship. Most of us were focused on getting the Black Friday offer ready, and me and this person had decided to go our own ways and not speak. And so when I got the call, I was surprised, right? And then my heart was open to being compassionate or what have you. And lo and behold, it's that saying that sticks with me. When people show you who they are, believe them. When they show you or tell you, believe them. And this person said from their own mouth that they were a liar and manipulator in the first call. And they manipulated the situation to their loved one or significant other, like I had reached out or had been trying to reach. Um, and that wasn't the case at all. And so this person stepped in a line of fire as a human shield. Why? Preying on someone else's insecurities to control them, um, and trying to control me. That's what people do when they are in bondage. They put up all these walls, and they're afraid to be honest with themselves, and they become highly functional at dysfunction. You got to be able to discern that, right? And so, what I said to myself, what that caused me to do, I was absolutely frustrated because I allowed it to break my focus. And it was so disturbing and bizarre to me that I actually lost quite a bit of time. Can I blame them? I could, but who does the responsibility lie with? Me. I am responsible, and you are responsible for where we place our time, and our focus, where we place our awareness. If someone comes contrary to your life, contrary to those three things, what you want to experience, and how you want to feel, as far as your vision, they are a distraction, and distractions can cost you your life, your destiny, your purpose, and dreams. So hopefully I articulated that well. I can simplify it this way: watch your associations. Who you connect to matters. We don't arrive at success or achieve levels of destiny on our own. And what's going to be one of those determining factors is going to be who you're connected with, who's in your circle. If you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. You got to reach for people who are doing what you want to do, who are in higher places than you. Why? Because it's an invitation for you to come up. Or you hang around people that just demote you, and everything that you work to become, you just digress. And so I had to make a quality decision, first of all, to forgive that person. And every time it crosses my mind, my late grandmother taught me that: pray that Father help me to will to forgive. Sometimes people can come after you for no reason. They're just miserable. It's not you. But it was a great lesson, um, a great lesson, right? And you would rather learn these types of lessons to know, first of all, to discern them when they come in the form of other people, and to know that, hey, this person does not belong anywhere around my life. Hey, I'm over here working on something. You can't come over here messing it up, right? And I said to myself, well, this person got what they wanted. They wanted a reaction out of me, and they got it. And they wanted it to justify their whatever, their life, their thoughts, their feelings. But in the end, people who walk in bitterness and darkness, that type of thing, we reap what we sow in this lifetime. Whether it's good or bad, the bill comes due. So make sure that you treat people good, starting with you. And what I had realized in that situation, I'm being a bit transparent here. Sometimes you could think, you ask yourself, do I still love this person? What do I think about them? How do I feel about them? And oftentimes, the thought is not, do you still love that person? Most of the time, you don't. Not in that way. It is, what is the experience that I wanted to? What is that experience that I want to feel again? And then once you identify that, you give it to yourself, or you allow other people to come into your life, to do so. And so once I identified, all right, I don't miss this person in my life in that way. This is what I miss. You miss the experience, not the actual person. I hope that helps somebody not to justify to go back into any toxic relationships, or, you know, and something that helped me was therapy, counseling, because a lot of times when you go through, forms of abuse in the relationships, we make excuses for them. And in that particular call, everything started flooding back as to why I left in the first place. It was a very toxic relationship, but it was very abusive as well. And I thought to myself, but that is the behavior of a freaking narcissist, to paint themselves, you know, paint you as the villain. It was just, it wasn't pleasant. And matter of fact, I'm still processing and still learning from it and keeping my heart clear. Proverbs 4:23 says to guard your heart. Keep your heart with all due diligence. Out of it flows the issues of life. And that word is lab in the Hebrew. It means the mind. Don't allow people to rent space in your mind, in your heart, in your will, your emotions. You got to guard that. And I had to get the wisdom, build myself back up, and say, all right, this is a I misplaced my focus and effort and energy, time, wasted time here. You repent, which means to realign, and then you go on. Don't ever revert to your past. Stay anchored into your present and be able to meet your future head on. The future is just a bunch of nows. So in order to get arrive at your future and destiny on time, you got to be anchored into now, the present, so that you don't miss opportunities. Is that fair? All right, I'm gonna leave you with this. The quality of your life comes down to three things: the qualities of the questions you ask, the quality of your decisions, and the quality of your relationships. The wrong relationship can and will cost you to be set back, or it can even cost you your destiny. Choose you and don't go backwards. Go forward. See ya.